Hi, I'm Zach with Josh's Frogs, and be it Christmas Day, figure I'd give myself a present and clean some glass in the frog room, and figure I'd share with you. So I'm going to give you a quick video tour of my personal frog room at home. Here we go. Start with my workstation. It's a countertop cut on an old actual dissection table from Michigan State University. A lot of tadpoles, supplements, all that kind of jazz. Then we go into the first tank. And it's full of 4 Western Bacchus tinctorius, which are a really neat little frog. That guy in particular right there is pretty cool. And you can kind of see a little bit of that frog back under that leaf. These guys tend to be pretty shy. There's another one in the shadows back there. These are F1s from a 2009 British Guiana imported leucomelas. They tend to have a lot more spots than normal leucs. They're not quite fine spotted. One pair of Azurius in their tank down there. That's just a test stream for some Atelopus right now. We'll get to a much bigger tank in the future. Here's one of 3 groups of Santa Isabel Anthony I have. You can see one little guy right there. These guys breed like crazy. Going over, got a group of 4 yellow terribles. They're about a year old or so now, so hopefully they'll breed shortly. There's a group of oranges that actually just started. There's a pretty female right there. Just started breed for me pretty recently. We got a pair of cobalts. And here, a trio of Patricias, and here, up here, you can see one kind of glaring at you in the center. French dwarf cobalts, which aren't too common in the hobby anymore, it seems. Kind of unfortunate. Then a really neat pair of citronellas, if you can see these. They're really odd color looking guys. But yeah, those are F1s from SNDF citronellas. We've got New Rivers in their tank. Pretty sparsely planted, but they seem to actually do a little bit better that way. Got another pair of Azurius over here, which are pretty photogenic little frogs. Everybody loves Azurius. Here's a spare female Qatari River understory, and a turquoise and bronze Aratus, which they all just jumped away when I ran by them. There's a group of green-legged bicolor down there. Then we've got some Tinc and Anthony, which are a neat little frog, really underappreciated. And the mandatory HEPA filter for the frog room. Pretty sure it has better air quality than the rest of my house down here. These are some Qatari Rivers. These are kind of oddball frogs. These are from Under the Canopy Farm, Tom and Jane, and they tend to be a lot darker than the understory morphs. There's a pair of understory Qataris. You can see they are really sip-like, which is kind of odd, but very neat frogs. They're breeding for me currently. Here's my Lorenzo tanks. You can see one out front. A little fogged up. They're a neat frog. I'm pretty sure I have a pair of those, but you know, Lord knows they're Lorenzos. Got another pair of Azurius in there. These are some Guyana yellow leucomelas, which are pretty neat little colored leuc. A little bit smaller than a lot of the Venezuelan guys. These are a pair of leucs that were F2s from 1996 import. Those are actually my first dart frogs. Pair of Oyapoc tinctorius in there, tank with its awesome glass. And then when it's actually out, oh my gosh, it's a red galac. And this guy's actually bred. There's another one. There's 4 of them in there. In that tank, that's a 24, 18, 18. They actually bred for me the first time last week. Another spare group of 3 male orange treeless down there. The dreaded Vitatis tank. These things breed like rabbits. I think I've got 9 or 10 frogs hopping around in there I gotta catch. These next two tanks are my next batches of Anthony, Santa Isabel. I really like the way this tank is overgrown. It's pretty cool. It's got like a streamside look. That's Josh's Frogs shag moss, which is pretty cool. It doesn't tend to do well a lot, but when it does well, it's a really neat looking thing. You can see some of the frogs hopping around down there. Shut that. And there's some more Santa Isabel, and these are a European line. A little bit cleaner looking frog or whatnot. A little pretty. Looks like there's, see if you can see that. Looks like they must have laid an egg clutch earlier today. That's kind of half falling off a leaf there. To pull that out a bit. We got some Costa Rican Aratus, along with that one you can see kind of on the far left there is a froglet growing up in tank I haven't been able to pull out yet. We've got some giant orange tinctorius. Just redid their tank. Had put them through a pretty heavy wet season, so it killed off a lot of the plants in there, but they're a pretty frog. Yeah, and right above them is the same thing, or a close relative, depending who you believe, the Regina. There goes the male. There's the big old female right there who doesn't really care about anything going around there. Their tank is pretty cool. It's actually planted with a lot of aquatics growing emergently. Then everybody's favorite small Tinc, the Bacchus, hopping around under his log there. I had just gutted this tanker, so it was full of bromeliads. They kept hiding tadpoles in. There's the female. Good frogs. Say hi to the camera. And then we'll over there. See, kind of several tanks there. Use exoterras all on 4-foot bakers racks. They work pretty well. Here's my bigger tank. This is a Marty made. This has a group of 6 mint terribilis in there. It's 3 feet tall. Pretty cool if you can see past the glare or whatnot. Really like the way that's planted in. Actually ran some misty nozzles down inside the tank to about the halfway point to help the foliage grow. Those are Todd's LED puck light things up there. Those things are ridiculously the spotlights. And there's some orange galax in here. There's actually 6 of them in this tank. But believe it or not, they're a little bit shyer than my reds, which is kind of odd. These are some Ted Conline lukes, which were actually the first lukes in the US hobby, believe it or not. I think these are, I have it written down, but I believe these guys are F4s. Really basic tank, but yeah, they're the first lukes in the US hobby. Then we've got a pair of Brazilian yellowheads down here. Living life. Nothing too fancy about their tank. And then Eldorado Pomelo, and this 24-18-24, which, there's a girl. Hey, get back there. Right there. There's another one. And you can see a baby in the back there next to an adult. These things breed like rabbits. I think there's about 10 frogs in there. A lot of the adults have actually grown up in the tank and they don't fight, so I just kind of leave them in there. There's a trio of F2 yellowbacks, really pretty frogs in that tank. There's another female yellowback. There's a pair in this tank. Another pair of yellowheads. Did some rock work in here. It's pretty cool. Then these are green sips, which are one of my favorite tanks in here. Really striking frog. And they're funky. Vivarium. You can see that oddball female looks really similar to some of the understory Qatari rivers, which really makes me wonder if they're located either really closely together or may actually be the same population just from different ends. That's a big, tall 36-inch Abronia tank, planted with live plants, broms, and such. This is a 24-18-24 with bluefoot leucomelas, which pretty neat frogs. You can see one in the back corner up there. But yeah, a neat animal. Hopefully we start having those guys breeding a little bit more regularly in the US. Isn't it all, because they're really not around. And we got original first pair of citronellas up here. Neat big frogs. And another male ran somewhere. Oh, there's the male back up there. Then these are Boulanger, which are the kind of the European version of French Guiana. Dwarf cobalt or whatnot. They're a neat little frog. Nice fake rock background on those guys. There's 5 of them in there. Unlike a lot of tanks, these guys actually do exceptionally well in pairs or in groups. I keep a lot of my tanks in pairs and in groups for that matter too. There's a group of cobalts. This tank, see that guy right there, and there's the male back there. Once again, real basic vivarium. Up here we have the tank with my 1995 lukes, and this tank looks like crap because, well, frankly, I just put it through a heck of a wet season to breed these guys, and I flooded tanks, and I haven't changed out the substrate yet like I do every year on my lukes. It looks like they're hiding somewhere. No eggs yet. Those guys give me eggs about every week or so, pretty good. Then next to them, we have my original pair of Patricias. These are from Bill Heath. Originally got those through Quality Captives. These should be F2s. Really pretty frogs. A lot of yellow on them for Patricias, which is neat. Just once again, real basic tank. Put a lot of my tanks through some pretty heavy cycling, so it kind of destroys the plants in there. Okay, and on to the next group here. Sorry I had to do that because battery died on the camera. A group of 4 powder blues, and there's actually a group of 3.1 in this tank, and never had any issue. They all breed really well. Sometimes I'll find actually all 4 in the same cocoa hut together, believe it or not, and come around to about 40 eggs or so. They like to make babies. I see one hopping around at the back up there. And this tank has some banded lukes, which are the Guyana, British Guyana lukes or whatnot. They're the ones that get really, really black, about 80%. They tend to also be one of the shyest varieties. Yeah, that's some lipstick plant. There's actually actual tree fern growing in here as well. They're only about a foot tall right now. Third and final pair of Brazilian yellowheads. I really like these guys. They're cool. Female's pretty neat. She has reduced black on her, it seems. Just a pretty frog in general. Once again, they're tanks. Nothing special. There's the male up there. And then next to him, here's my standard Lamazzi vivarium. Let's see if we can see some of these guys. Let's see one zooming back in there. And there it goes. But yeah, this tank was kind of neat because it was done basically with just a bunch of cuttings. It's kind of nice to see what grows in, what survives. I'm sure if I wasn't actually in front of this tank, we'd see them all in here. There's 9 adults in here. They're hopping around all over the place. Oh, there's one. They're cruising over there. Yeah, pretty neat. I generally see at least 4 or 5 at one time. I move on to the next. These are what should really be called the banded leucomelas. And they like to hide in that crack right along the door there. They're pretty shy too. But they're gorgeous. They look really similar to a yellow lamani. Here's a second pair of 1996 leucomelas. Once again, oh, there, they just hopped in the back. Yeah, these are from my original group of frogs that I first got into the hobby. Ulmaries, very cool, not so common tink morph anymore. It's really a shame that a lot of the tinks seem to be a lot more difficult to find. And just not as common or as in demand anymore. Thanks to there's a lot more popularity. It seems like the new stuff Understory is bringing in, and the thumbnails and everything. Let them get back to it. Here's Nikitas. Once again, another really cool. These are from Marcus at SNDF. Female's the big orange guy from Scott in the back there. They're neat. Similar to a citronella, a little bit smaller, and they tend to have really predominant bracelets, and their belly has a different pattern too. Let's see if these guys are out. The true sips, which actually have been becoming bolder. You can see in the dark there's one kind of chilling out back there. I don't think you're going to see much more than that. Put them through a rainy season. They're actually courting this morning, so maybe I'll get lucky and find eggs tomorrow. Fine spot Luke tank. Just saw one run for cover in a cocoa hut back there. They're generally out and about, but it's a little bit later in the day, so they're getting ready for lights off. And there's a few working to make babies, so get back there. You guys can go back to it. And there's a third one in the back up there. They're neat little lukes. They're a little bit more difficult to breed than normal lukes, and they're a little bit smaller, which is cool. These are some of my favorite frogs in the room. These are Watley Lion Azurius, which, of course, he's going to hang out in the shadows. You can see one back there. They tend to be a lighter blue. Yeah, guess you can't really see it. One of them's virtually patternless in there, and that's just natural variation. It's not like they were line bred for that trait or anything. These are actually only F2 animals. And here's my Infra-Alanis tank, or actually Alanis, you know, depending, they're probably the same thing. There's actually 5 adults in here. It appears to be 3.2 that just started breeding for me about a month ago. And there's their kind of crazy overgrown top level right up there. And you can see 3 of them in there. They're really underappreciated tinctorius. Wish more people paid attention to them. That's it pretty much frog-wise. I do have some Atelopus and a few other odds and ends or whatnot that aren't set up very nicely right now since it's the off-season. This rack right here is actually going to be home to a future Atelopus stream tank and some other things, so I'll post that. You see my tadpoles. Used to do them in 16-ounce cups. Now I'm moving over to these shelf systems. Each shelf can hold, or each little container can hold 32 tadpoles. So I can do a total of 96 per shelf, which saves me a lot of room in here. little agricoli female gecko up there for that. Got some holdback frogs. Here's my morphine racks. You can see decent amount of frogs coming up, and then all these tadpoles have back legs right now. Thank goodness it's the off season at the moment. I generally have about 3 times that amount. Fridge over there, which has beer and frog supplements, you know, the 2 vitals of a frog room. And then we do have some support up here. We've got a fan, which I don't know if you noticed, there's also fans and misting systems, and there's a whole network of fans up in the ceiling to help circulate all the air around here pretty well. Also have a humidifier for the Abronia tank, and that's also an ozone generator and an ionizer, so helps with air quality, as well as my own heater and AC unit for the frog room, which helps with everything. And you can see all the soft plumbing, all the pipes running around the top. Plumbed in an RO unit, so it's actually hooked up to 5 mist king systems spread out around here, so I can cycle down. There's another one up there. Actually hooked up to a solenoid valve, that guy right there. So they run straight off of the RO tank to all these guys. Everything on this room's an automatic misting. And, well, that's about it. Fruit flies up there. Springtails down there. Got plenty of isopod cultures all around the back up there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a pretty neat room. You kind of see all the tanks I have in here. Well, Merry Christmas, guys.